Welcome back to the channel. My name is Seth Estrada, and if you're watching this video, you're probably on my BitTube channel, Mind Your Biz. Now, this is the second part of Seth's ASIC misadventure, and the first part was the hardware portion. Now we've got to do the software setup of this brand new Antminer. Now I've got a trick up my sleeve, and it's not a big secret. It rhymes with hive. You see that behind me. So we're going to go through this process step by step of setting up a brand new ASIC miner, not just with the software that Bitmain wants you to use, but maybe with some custom firmware, and maybe on a custom mining OS that allows you to admin that ASIC much more easily from a central dashboard, as opposed to having to log in locally on a local network, just assigning an IP to that machine. It would be much easier if we knew that we could just admin these machines from a distance, right? Now, with the D3, you notice that I got an Antminer D3 on eBay. I saw it was going for a steal, so I picked one up, and you can probably hear it in the background right now. It's hashing away, but let me show you what I did. First things first, I needed to download a tool from Bitmain called the IP Reporter, and you see it up here in the upper left-hand window. This is just a very simple tool. It's simply, when I press the button on the front of that Antminer, it will report what the IP address is. Now, I haven't clicked that button over here. I can do it right now. I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. I'm going to reach over and press that button. Okay, now it didn't take long for that to pop up, right? So the IP address on my local network is, as you see right there. Now, that's on my local network. I might get rid of that MAC right there, so I'm not going to show that. However, boom, go ahead and stop right there. It can list all the machines that are on the network here, and if I want to, I can assign a fixed IP to each one of these if that helps. And your mileage may vary. It depends on how many devices you have on your network, how far you want to go with that effort. However, this IP Reporter tool is absolutely essential to discovering new ASICs that are on your network, because as you press that button on the front of the machine, then it will report to this software here. So I've got to know that in order to understand what the IP address is. Here's why. Okay, right here, there's that same IP address. Pretty cool, right? Without that IP address, I'm in trouble. Okay, no more applause. That's enough. But now that I've logged into that IP address, the default username and password for your brand new Antminer, username is root, and the password is also root. However, you can change that in the settings, and I definitely recommend that you do. I already have, and now I've got different credentials here, and I can even store those in a password manager. Kind of convenient, at least for right now for this setup, right? And for each one of these individual IP addresses, of course, my password manager can remember them. It definitely comes in handy. So that's a freebie, guys, from me to you. Use a password manager. It doesn't matter which kind of password manager you use, whether it's the one built into Chrome or Firefox or what is it, Brave browser, right? Uses a basic attention token. But right here, I've got several settings that are kind of nice for me to be able to deal with from this kind of a dashboard. Miner settings right here, pools that I can use. I could run the miner from this dashboard if I wanted to. I don't have to use HiveOS. Not totally essential. However, I like using HiveOS because I can manage multiple wallets and have flight sheets at the ready and change stuff at a moment's notice if I think there's something more alluring for me to mine. And tonight, I'm trying out a couple different coins, stuff other than Dash, because they're not the only games. Dash isn't the only game in town when it comes to X11 mining. And people wonder, like, well, why would you get an old Antminer right now? There are reasons. There are very good reasons, in the same way that there are very good reasons to be GPU mining right now. If you know what to look for, and you have coins with good liquidity and a good market, then why not? Why not mine? Just stay profitable. I digress. We'll talk about ASIC setup. Here, we've got different pools, and as you can tell right there, I've got... Oh, look at that. So it's been propagated over to this dashboard by HiveOS. And I can use fallback pools and then auto fan control, which I've done right now, which has helped both my fans not to pop all the way up to 100, which on this ASIC, I kind of appreciate because these fans get really, really loud. But go to my advanced tab, and this is where I get some pretty cool settings. I can change the frequency, you know, essentially overclock the core frequency of this device. And then I can undervolt the main voltage if I wanted to. Now, with ASICs, I'm not convinced that's the best choice for this D3. I'll get back to you on that as I experiment with some better frequency and voltage options and figure out what the best hash rate is. Because right now, I'm not quite doing the 19 gigahashes that it's advertised as being able to do. I'm actually doing a little bit less. However, I'm consuming a lot less electricity too. So I think my efficiency is really good. And since I'm mining at the office where I get, you know, air quotes, free electricity here at the office, I don't want to take advantage. You know what I mean? That would just be plain rude. So something to be aware of, at least in this particular dashboard, this particular version of the firmware, is that I can apply a global setting on most areas for this ASIC. I can either apply a global setting or I can apply a different setting per hashboard. Think of it as though you were running a different miner and different overclock settings for each one of the GPUs in a GPU-based system. And each one of those hashboards, as you saw in the hardware video, I mean, it does kind of invoke the idea, right? The imagery of a GPU sliding into a slot on a motherboard. Right into a PCI Express slot. Very similar hardware design. Not exactly, though, as you know. But right here, I can make these changes per hashboard. I might have one that can be pushed a little bit harder than the others, and I can do some experimenting to see exactly how far I can push the entire system by doing this. But for right now, I'm going to stick with the global settings, and I won't start doing the individual settings per hashboard until I know that the global settings are pretty good, right? Good enough to stay consistent across all three devices, all three hashboards. So that's the way I'm going to start. And then going to settings, you see I have system, admin, notifications, network, and upgrade. Now the upgrade tab is interesting because I can get custom firmware. Now you may be aware of several custom firmwares that are floating around the internet for different ASICs. Some of them are actually quite good. And so it's worth the time to look for a custom firmware for your ASIC if you're picking up a used ASIC like this D3. I'm using, I think it's Bliss, so Bliss 1.11, and that's a firmware revision that is still compatible with HiveOS. So network, it's just telling me stuff that I already know. Notifications, of course, I can tell it to do all kinds of other stuff. It's pretty advanced, actually, pretty cool. However, I get access to a lot of this stuff in HiveOS as well. These settings propagate out to the dashboard from HiveOS, and then I also have the added benefit of getting the hash rate watchdog and all of the other features of HiveOS, including the Telegram bot integration that accounts for my entire farm and any farms that I'm managing or monitoring. So instead of getting this one-off message here from this one machine, with HiveOS, I'm getting messages for hundreds of machines, which is kind of nice. From it's the same Telegram bot, so it's not confusing. And right here, I can make changes to the time zone. You know, I may... This isn't really giving me very good options as far as someplace that's close to me. I mean, I guess I'm closest to... No, I'm not really close to any of these places. I think they're taking for granted that nobody is going to use this device here in the United States. Whatever. And then the system, of course, this is kind of nice because it tells me, there we go. So right up top, you can see exactly which firmware I'm running. It says Antminer D3 Bliss version 1.11. And then Antminer GNU Linux. Oh yeah. Come get you some. Free and open source operating system kernel. Yeah, it tells me the kernel version of Linux that it's running, because it's not running a full distribution of Linux, obviously. And then it tells me all about the rest of the operation of the device. So as you can tell, I haven't been running this for a super long time just yet, but there's a reason for that. Okay. So that's the main dashboard here when I log into that IP address that I had set up. And I need that IP address to log in with PuTTY. PuTTY, if you're not familiar with it, is a remote access tool that allows me to create a secure session within the device. And this is a terminal. Basically, it's a remote terminal that I'm able to launch from this device that I'm recording to. I was going to say live streaming, but this isn't live. But that I'm recording to right now. And I was able to run a couple of commands, very simple commands, I should add. And those very simple commands made it possible for me. I'm going to go to just the Hive OS main page. And when I normally click on the install button, go to Hive ASIC, it brings me here to the GitHub repo. And all you have to do is go through the README. There are some cool commands right here that you can just copy and paste. All you have to do is copy them. Let's see. And it even says right here, for Antminer D3 before with Bliss, before installation, run. Now I just copy this. And within PuTTY, all I have to do to paste something is to right-click. You notice right there. Now, something that I noticed here, and I'll show you again, I'm going to run that command. And it just reminds me, let's see. It says, file exists. So I've already done this upgrade, or it was already done by the seller who sold me this device, which is kind of nice. And it means all I have to do after that, and I chose the promptless installation. It was just easier. So copy all of this, and then I pasted it into a notepad over here, and I changed my farm hash to, well, I changed the farm hash to my farm hash, just so I had some place to kind of scratch this out. Then copied it again and pasted it into here, ran it, and then Hive OS was installed. It was easy. It installed itself from the GitHub repo. And then when I logged into my Hive OS dashboard, guess what I saw? Boom! This! Though, you know, I kind of want to rename it now. There it goes. I'm sorry, terahashes. I said the wrong thing before. So I'm functioning at about 17 and a quarter terahashes per second, but I'm doing so at only about a kilowatt of power consumption, which is better. Right? It's better than what I was expecting before. I still have to tweak the voltage and the core clock, right? So core clock, I got to do my OC and undervolt to make sure that I've got this running optimally, which I just haven't done yet. I wanted to show you the second part here, and we'll go into some optimization over the next couple of days. Okay, so that is this in a nutshell. Let me just show you really fast what else I've got. I've got flight sheets that are unique just to this device. And before you ask, yes, I'm trying out something that is extremely speculative. Nobody knows about this coin at all. It's, I mean, I just wanted to get my feet wet with this, right? I wanted to make sure that I could return shares, so I chose a coin that nobody was mining at all that uses X11. And I've got a few more that I've got my eyes on. One of them is Futuro coin. And is Futuro coin the absolute best? Is it the bee's knees? Man, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not sure. However, what I am finding... Well, what I'm finding is that at least for tonight, it seems profitable enough that I would consider mining it over Dash. So, All right, guys, it's kind of a laid-back software setup session and just talking really briefly about the Antminer D3, getting a used Antminer D3. Do I think it's the right time? No, it's really not the right time to be buying any ASICs, used ASICs, unless you know for a fact that you've got like a plan to work with them. And this was kind of the fallback after seeing that really exciting news from Digital Gold that there was a rumor of a Walton chain miner that was based on the D3, and then discovering that that was not true. I know, bummer. Jared was just as disappointed. We chatted about it. He was really bummed. But I've got this Antminer D3 now. I'm going to make the most of it, right? I discovered that it is working just fine, that cleaning it out, as we saw in the last video, making sure that it is physically free and clear from any kind of dust or particulate or anything that's going to decrease the efficiency of the fans and the heat sinks, that getting that done, it's the obvious first step. It helped a lot. It runs just great. And that's going to help it run even more efficiently because there isn't any kind of blockage to the airflow. This should be simple, right? It's pretty simple. Like if you saw a bunch of like tumbleweeds crunched up against the radiator grill of your car, and then your car wasn't running very well, you really wouldn't wonder. You'd think like, okay, well, obviously there's a bunch of tumbleweeds stuck in my radiator. Like there's no air flowing across the radiator. So why don't we clear off the heat sinks on our devices more often? Well, you should, especially if it's used. So yeah, finding a coin that is then worth mining, well, that's really up to you. And I'll give you a report on how things go here, and if there are alternate X11 coins that I find that might be worth mining with this one device. Now, do I have like 50 of these, 100 of these? No, not here, and I'm very unlikely to get them. Very unlikely to get that number of these. If anything, I would get 50 or 100 other devices, not used ASICs like this. So at any rate, guys, that is the brief update. That's how I got things running here on HiveOS with the brand new Antminer D3. Got it set up very easily. It was pretty much painless. You guys let me know down in the comments, would you like to see a masternode set up next? Because I think that's probably what we need to be focused on right now with some of the mining profits that we have squirreled away, right? That we have socked away and that we've been hodling for a while. As opposed to just watching the market do this, we can grow our bag in the meantime. Or, as you know, you can trade some other way. There are trading pairs that some people are very confident with in terms of growing their bag of crypto. However, I think that masternodes are a really great option if you're not wanting to every single day hit the exchanges and try to trade every single day. That might not be the thing that does it for you. So let's take a look at masternodes. You let me know if that's a good idea. Let me know in the comments if it's something you'd like to see. And let me know which masternode you'd like to see set up. All right, guys. You're the reason I make these videos. You know I love your face. Don't you? You should. I love your face. I will see you in the next one.